Fans have been mad about the Boston Red Sox offseason, but now the players are even starting to express frustration. It's all coming up on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. And honestly, who doesn't love free? It's the best way to go about life, right? Is take advantage of free things. So you absolutely should take advantage. Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Welcome to another episode of the show. Happy Wednesday. For whatever reason, yesterday felt like the most Wednesday, Tuesday ever. I don't know what it is. Do you ever end up in a mode where you think it's a different day than it actually is? I get that all the time. And it's great if you think it's Thursday, but it's actually Friday. But it's not so great if you think it's Wednesday and it's actually Tuesday, because then you realize you still have more days left in the work week. Would not recommend that feeling. But anyway, today does feel like Wednesday again. So I don't know what happened with yesterday. Everything was all just off for me. But that means we're one day closer to opening day, 36 days to be exact. I'm going to be touching on that a little bit later. But first, there have been multiple things that have made me feel like the Red Sox should be doing more this offseason, multiple opportunities for wake-up calls for them, and none of it's really worked. I mean, I thought Theo Epstein coming into an advisor role in Boston would help to trigger something in the heads of front office, like, okay, we should probably do something to improve this team because we haven't really done enough. And Alex Cora has expressed disappointment too. I'm going to be talking about him on today's show as well. But now there's players that are starting to express frustration. And the star of the team, the face of the franchise, Rafael Devers, basically ripped apart Red Sox ownership in his first spring training press conference, where he went on record and said, who knows what we need? Everybody knows what we need. Like, we all know what this team needs to do to improve, and basically talking about how frustrating it was that the ownership group and front office have completely ignored the team's needs and haven't really done a whole lot to improve the team right now. And that's coming from Rafael Devers, somebody who just signed a big contract extension with the Boston Red Sox and knows that he's going to be getting paid that money. And if you're getting that type of player to feel that way, that is very much not a good sign. A lot of times when players sign a big extension with a team, it means they're excited about it. They want to win with that team. They feel like they can win with that team, and they're happy to be getting that big contract that they've rightfully deserved. And Devers has worked so hard throughout his career. He's grown a ton as a player since his rookie season, and he's turned into ultimately that face of the franchise that people rely on to be that guy in big situations, to come in clutch and be the guy that the Red Sox can lean on for pretty much anything when it comes to getting a big hit at the plate. And if I'm Devers, I'm frustrated. If he's going out and openly saying that everybody knows what this team needs, why haven't they done it yet? That's concerning, because that means that he definitely could walk away from his contract. His contract has incentives. It has opportunities for him to opt out. He can do it. And the question now becomes, how long would he give it before he starts to get tired of playing in Boston? Because if I'm that type of player, I want to win. And when you're spending your career in a place like Boston, that comes with winning. Boston has always been a winning culture, and I'm sure that's what Devers signed his contract extension for. Just to remind you a little bit more about what his contract actually is, it includes a $20 million signing bonus, of which $5 million is payable each February from 2023 to 26. He gets salaries of $27.5 million a year from 2024 to 26, $31 million annually from 2027 to 30, and $29 million per season from 2031 to 33. In each season of the long-term deal, $7.5 million will be deferred. So he's earning a lot of money in this contract, and obviously he's happy about it, but is he happy to be on a team that's consistently going to have last place finishes and is seemingly not doing a whole lot to fix that? I mean, it's just truly unfortunate that Devers is starting to grow unhappy with the Boston Red Sox organization, because what kind of scenario is that going to create for the clubhouse? If your star player is starting to check out and give up on the franchise, I'd be concerned about the overall camaraderie in the clubhouse and having a team that's going to play the 2024 season basically full of emotions. Like, I don't really care. I'm just going to go through the season, get it over with, and hopefully be in a better situation next year. And I mentioned this on yesterday's show. Shout out to the everydayers who are here with me every day, even through what's been a tough offseason. You will all remember what I'm talking about here. But I said it, the Red Sox really do seem like they're trying to build for 2025 and beyond. They have some young studs in the farm system that could come up and be big contributors down the road for them. And while that's okay, what's not okay is not being honest about it. And it really concerns me that Devers was expressing the way that he was feeling about the situation, and it happened to be a similar feeling that the fans have. So that means that the players were under a different impression as well about how this Red Sox offseason would go. And losing respect from a star player on your team is a serious problem for Boston. And Devers is your franchise player that you've committed to build around now with all this money you gave him and this long contract. So you have to build around him. You have to bring in players to put him in the mode of, we care about you being here and we see you as the guy that can lead this franchise to prominence. And it's a huge slap in the face to Devers to me if they're not working to bring the pieces around him, because it shows a lack of value towards him. That to me shows that the Red Sox don't value his presence enough here to want to field the best team possible around him. And that is definitely unfortunate, because he is a franchise caliber player. He has so much talent and so much left in the tank in his career. And you're going to treat him that way by leaving this sour taste in his mouth about the way this offseason has gone. It's just really disrespectful to him. And also, it has to be distracting for somebody like Kenley Jansen, too, who has also expressed his frustration with how this offseason has gone in Boston. He's on the last year left of his contract. There's been a lot of trade rumors surrounding him. He said he's been frustrated by that, but he's also been annoyed with this seemingly change in direction that the Red Sox are seeming to go in, because Kenley is the type of player who, by coming to Boston, thought that they were brought in to compete. He is the type of player that wants to win, and he's achieved so many personal accolades in his career, and he's probably nearing the end of his career. He wants to win now, and for him to be brought in under the impression that the Red Sox want to be competitive, to now having this whole mindset and attitude about the offseason that they are, that has to be frustrating for him. Kenley actually said on a podcast, I definitely feel frustrated. I came here for 2 years where year one we were going to compete, but by year two, they were really going to go for it. They have a different vision now. I get it. It's part of the business, but at the same time, I have one more year left here, and I'm going to give the fans the best that I have. he clearly still wants to win. And a lot of the players want to win. And it's unfortunate because Red Sox ownership has not operated that way this offseason. And the more people who comment on it, the more obvious it becomes. But what's sad is that even though it becomes obvious, it doesn't prompt any moves by the Red Sox, because even Dustin Pedroia called them out, and then they did sign Liam Hendricks after that, but he can't even pitch in 2024. So again, another 2025 move. Their vision clearly seems to be we're trying to get the pieces in place to compete for 2025, but why not convey that to the players, especially Rafael Devers, who is your franchise player, has committed so much time to this Red Sox organization and always wants to go out there and play his best, and you're going to completely disregard his value and not show that you care about him being there by not putting the right level of talent around him. It's really disheartening to think about, and the Red Sox in general and the way they've approached this offseason is disheartening. And honestly, I don't blame any players for being hesitant to sign in Boston or coaches for not wanting to take jobs with the Boston Red Sox. And that was a serious problem this offseason. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about the future of the main guy in charge in the clubhouse and Alex Cora. Is he going to stay in Boston? You'll find out next. Sports betting has become such a big thing over the last few years, with it becoming more and more legal in different states and more people getting involved with it. If you want to make the most of your sports betting experience, FanDuel is the place for you. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. FanDuel's great. You can win tons of money in different ways because they give you a lot of different scenarios and different sports to bet on. So head to FanDuel today if you want to win some extra cash. Also, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. This is very exciting for us as a network because nobody else has this. Locked On is the only network to have a 24/7 streaming channel to keep you caught up in all things going on in sports, so subscribe today. Is Alex Cora gonna be in Boston after the 2024 season? That's a pending question among Red Sox Nation and among the baseball community. Now, Cora has a successful track record, obviously winning the World Series in 2018 in Boston with a stacked roster. And then the Red Sox missed the playoffs in 2019, and then he was suspended in 2020, but then came back in 21. And the Red Sox got within 2 games of the World Series in 2021. That was a fun season. People didn't expect them to be there, but they surprised a lot of people, and then ultimately lost to the Houston Astros, who just simply had the better pitching than them, a lot more pitching depth. So I had a feeling the Astros were going to win that series, but you never know. That's why you play the games. And that was a fun season. And then 2022 and 2023 were not so fun. Last place finishes in both seasons. So the question started to become, was the issue because of poor management in the clubhouse or poor management in the front office? And the Red Sox as an organization obviously felt that the problem more had to do with the front office. So in Cora's tenure, they've let go of Dave Dombrowski and then Chaim Bloom. So now we're in a place of, how is the 2024 season going to go if there's been all these changes and they haven't really improved the roster a lot? Alex Cora has expressed frustration as well about the Red Sox and how he feels like they've lost their identity, and he wants them to get back to being the Boston Red Sox that people know and love where people are spending a lot of money to watch certain players, and there are these superstars that play in Boston because they're one of the most historic franchises in baseball, and they want to watch those types of players. And the Red Sox don't really have many guys like that on the roster right now. And Alex Cora seems to be frustrated with the fact that they're making a lot of lateral moves, but haven't really made the big moves necessary to make the roster a truly competitive one heading into 2024. And I don't blame him for saying that. But one of the biggest things that says to me is the Red Sox are not serious about competing. And how am I supposed to work with this roster and be successful? A lot of people have placed blame on Alex Cora for the Red Sox performance the last couple seasons, but he is not in charge of building the roster, people. I've been saying this so many times. I will defend Alex Cora. I think he's a very good manager, and something that particularly stands out about him is that he's a player's coach. The players respect him and enjoy playing for him, and he helps with their individual growth as well as cares about the camaraderie in the clubhouse. That's the type of manager you want to have around your team. And does he make questionable management decisions sometimes? Yes, but every manager does. No manager is perfect. Nobody's perfect at their job. At the end of the day, that is what it is. Everybody's going to have flaws. I think his management of the bullpen is a flaw. But last year that was improved because the talent in the bullpen was better. It really starts with the roster and the guys having to perform. Cora did not build the roster, and he can only do what he can do with the roster he's given. So if the roster he's given is players who they are hoping show improvement and continue to develop in 2024, but isn't a roster made up of a lot of superstars, then what is Cora really supposed to do with that roster? And he's definitely looking at this situation heading into 2024 and saying, wow, we really don't have an MLB caliber roster right now to be able to compete with the best of the best teams. And that's just not a fair position to put him in, because if you care about your manager and value him being there, you would want to surround him with a team that can win and can be competitive, especially when you're the Boston Red Sox and you have the money and the resources necessary to do so. There are a lot of players who have expressed that they enjoy playing for Cora, and what's going to happen to those players and their overall view of this organization if they lose a manager that they trust and they enjoy playing for? And what's going to happen if the Red Sox continue to go about this business of finishing in last place and claiming that they're still rebuilding, and then we don't see any changes? I don't think Alex Cora wants to stick around for all of that. And now that he's in his last year of his contract, he hasn't commented a lot on his contract situation specifically and what's going to happen after this season. But I have no doubts that he definitely will consider walking, because I'd be frustrated if I were in his shoes too. And I'd be sitting here feeling like this Red Sox organization is not giving me enough resources on this team to be able to succeed. He actually, for example, commented yesterday about how Bobby Dahlbeck likely will get some time on the major league roster this year, between some opportunities at first base, playing a little bit of third base, and maybe playing in the outfield sometimes. And Bobby Dahlbeck has never been very good. He definitely has shown some glimpses of being a good player, and he'll go on these hot streaks where he's making a lot of contact at the plate and making an impact and driving in runs, but then he'll just go cold again. So he's incredibly inconsistent, and I've never been super on the Bobby Dahlbeck train. I actually pushed for him to get traded during last season because I thought it was somebody who made sense to maybe move in a package to get some pitching help, because maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. I just don't think that Boston is the place for him. And what's been really irritating is kind of seeing the Red Sox continue to give him chances and then it doesn't really work. Like, how long are you willing to take it to see if he pans out here? I don't think they have any desire to move him. I think they just want to keep switching him between AAA and the majors and hope that it eventually works. And if Cora has to come to the conclusion of saying, yeah, Dahlbeck's going to get some time at the major league level, that means the Red Sox did not improve their roster as much as they should. And this isn't meant to be a knock on Bobby Dahlbeck. I mean, I don't think he's a great player to have on this team, but it shows the lack of depth that this team has, because if they really improved the roster to the point where they needed to, they wouldn't need to use Bobby Dahlbeck regularly on the major league roster. And he's not going to play nearly as much as Casas at first base. He obviously won't play nearly as much as Devers, and they have a plethora of outfielders. But I think if needed, he'll be a guy that they want to see get more reps. And that can't be Alex Cora's idea. I feel like it's the front office leaving him with no choice. And I remember Alex has had some moments from last season where he basically said, "This is not fair to me." Kind of like when he was throwing pitchers out there and they were clearly struggling, but he didn't pull them. And it was almost to make a statement to ownership in the front office group that, look what you did here. You put me in a position where my starters can't go deep into games. I'm forcing relievers to go in and be overworked. And now as a result, guys are struggling. It was a blatant frustration that Alex Cora was feeling, and you could see it visibly on his face. And if he's in a situation now where he has to try to make it work with players who he wouldn't ideally put on the major league roster to start the season, that's just not a fair position to put him in. So when his contract is up at the end of this season, I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go elsewhere. It might even be not on a big market team. He might want to go to a smaller market and be a manager there where there's less pressure to win every year, because that's something about Boston is it is an organization where you're expected to be producing and winning all the time. And maybe he doesn't want that type of environment anymore. So maybe he goes to more of a lower level team that's in a smaller market where there's less of that pressure and less frustration because the stage isn't as big and not as many eyes are on you. So that is a possibility. I think the Red Sox as an organization will reevaluate when it gets closer how they feel about Cora, if they feel like they want to part ways with him or if they feel like they want to keep him. But if they feel right now like they want to keep him, they're not doing a lot to make their case for why he should stay. If I'm him, I'm being pushed away more than I'm being pulled towards staying, and that's not a fun feeling. So only Cora and the Red Sox front office can decide what his future is going to look like. We'll know at some point, but I think there's a good chance he walks. Coming up, there are 36 days until opening day. Who was a key player to wear number 36 in Boston? That's coming up next. Sometimes I get into this bad habit where I wait last minute to get tickets for things, and it's really something that I should not be doing, but sometimes I forget, or I am organizing something with friends and just don't really have a chance to purchase tickets in advance. So Game Time is your place for last minute ticket needs, and it's been an absolute lifesaver for me in multiple scenarios. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is awesome. I highly recommend it. It really will give you better prices than other ticket vendors, and it'll give you good seats at the last minute. So if you're not much of a planner like myself, it's definitely the place for you. The other place for you, no matter who you are, is Locked On Sports Today, as you can subscribe on YouTube or also find it on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is basically a 24/7 streaming channel where we cover the top sports stories of the day with all the local Locked On experts, plus our national shows that cover every league. So if you're looking for a way to quickly get caught up in everything going on in sports without having to constantly scroll through Twitter, Locked On Sports Today is the place for you to look. So you should head there today. We are 36 days from opening day, where Red Sox baseball is coming back, and we may not be as excited this year about watching the Red Sox play as we have been in past seasons. But if you're a baseball fanatic like myself, you just love being able to watch games. And this weekend, the Red Sox have their first set of spring training games. So get ready on Saturday and Sunday at 1 p.m. The Red Sox will be playing spring training baseball games that we'll be able to watch on our TVs. So that'll be fun. It'll be good to kind of see how everybody does, where people are at. Maybe some players will surprise us, but make sure you tune into that. And with 36 days remaining until opening day, there was a notable player to wear number 36 for the Boston Red Sox, and that was Tom Gordon, aka Flash. He came to Boston as a starter, but transitioned to the bullpen, where he saved a franchise record of 46 games in 1998. He was definitely a fun player to watch. He finished his career with an earned run average of 396 and a record of 138 and 126. He pitched 890 games total and struck out 1,928 batters. Flash has so many accolades to his name. He played for multiple teams like the Kansas City Royals, then the Red Sox from 1996 to 1999, Chicago Cubs, Houston Astros, Chicago White Sox, New York Yankees, boo, Philadelphia Phillies, and Arizona Diamondbacks. In 1998, he won the Rolaids Relief Man of the Year award and led the AL in saves and games finished. In 1998 to 99, he set a then MLB record with 54 consecutive saves when he was in Boston. He's actually a current radio color commentator for the Red Sox too, so he's been able to move from being a player to being a commentator. And I always enjoy when guys who played the game go into commentating, because it's a great insight that they can give on the game and maybe the thought process going through some of the players' heads. So having former players that are on that side of things is always great to hear and listen to. We have some guys like that on the TV broadcast as well. In his first season in Boston in 1996, Gordon had a 12-9 record and a 5.59 ERA, the highest ERA of his career to that point. Over the next 2 years, though, he was then converted to a closer and his career reignited. In 1998, he set the club's single-season record for saves with 46 and was named to his first All-Star team. His success continued in 1999, where he set a major league record with his 54th consecutive save in June, but an ongoing elbow injury limited him to just 21 appearances, which required Tommy John surgery. Unfortunately, that forced him to spend all of 2000 on the injured list. His popularity in Boston at that point led New England-based writer and Red Sox fan Stephen King to reference him as the object of infatuation for the young protagonist of the 1999 novel, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. You know you've made it when you're referenced in a novel like that. Maybe one day I'll be referenced in a novel, you know, The Girl Who Loved Locked On Red Sox, or loved the Boston Red Sox. That'd be kind of cool, right? You know you've made it when that's your life. So he's accomplished a lot in his career. In 2001, the Chicago Cubs, who were in the process of massively overhauling their pitching staff, signed Gordon to a 2-year, $5 million contract on December 15th. That happened in 2000, set them up for the 2001 season. And then on August 22nd, 2002, the Cubs, who had little interest in retaining Gordon as a closer because they had acquired another closer at the end of spring training, they traded him to the Houston Astros, and he basically then was blocked from closing on his new team by bullpen staple Billy Wagner and setup man Octavio Dotel. But Gordon found his position as a middle reliever for Houston. After going 1-3 with a 3.02 ERA and 33 appearances between Chicago and Houston, Gordon's family sent him a bouquet to celebrate that he had closed the season in full health for the first time since 1999. So his career definitely took some tough turns in terms of injuries. He was unable to stay healthy there for a couple seasons. But what's cool about him is he was able to pitch in a lot of different areas. He was a starting pitcher, then moved to a closer, then moved to a middle reliever. So he was able to be effective as a pitcher in a lot of different parts of the pitching staff. I wish we had pitchers on the Red Sox pitching staff now who could do that. And I always appreciate guys who are able to pitch one way, get used to being a starter, but then seamlessly transition to being a reliever and having it be no problem for them. So he definitely was a very talented pitcher. It's obviously been a while since we've been able to watch him play, but it's good to hear his commentary on the broadcasts. And it's nice that he has knowledge of the game from a different perspective. On August 9th, 2010, Gordon said that he still thinks he has what it takes to compete, but that he's fine with retirement. He retired as the only pitcher in MLB history to have over 100 wins, over 100 saves, and over 100 holds. So, quite a lot of career accolades there for Mr. Gordon. And there you have it, 36 days until opening day, a notable player to wear number 36 for the Boston Red Sox. We're getting closer, everyone. Baseball season is right around the corner. And as always, like I say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.